Question 1. When did you realize you won in life? Answer. When I fixed a tech problem by turning it off and on again. And it actually worked. I stood up like I just defused a bomb. Answer. Twice. When I got married. And when my career got to a point where I stopped having to worry about money. Answer. When I opened the fridge and there was both Coke and Pepsi. I don't even like soda. But the power. Answer. When I learned to control the negative sides of my disabilities and make the positive ones better. Answer. I think it was when I simply took a step back, looked at my life in the bigger picture, and realized that while things may not be perfect, they'll likely never be perfect, and that so many others out there would look at my life and want so many things that I already do have, e.g. supportive family, loving girlfriend, warm food to eat, a job, etc. Answer. When I was arguing with someone, Googled it, and I was right. I slept like a king that night. Answer. When no one was in a position of control over me. I call my shots, I deal with the outcomes. No one else. Answer. The day I launched my self-published book. It was very briefly the #1 selling programming book on Amazon. Really hit home for me. That my hobby project to write a book went way better than expected. Answer. When my kids were born. Answer. When I realized I was making more than all my friends who spend loads on a degree. When I hardly passed high school. Plus the fact that I create my own schedule and take as much time off as I want. Answer. When my mom stopped praying for me to succeed and started praying for me to stay happy. That's when I knew I won in life. Answer. When I lived through my parents' divorce, my sister's anorexia, as well as my years as a teen with unmedicated ADHD, anxiety, and seasonal depression. Answer. I woke up before my alarm and felt rested. I thought, wow, this is it. This is peak adulthood. Still waiting on the mansion and yacht. But honestly, the little wins hit harder sometimes. Answer. I feel like life is a set of milestones. When I was younger, I wanted a certain job, and it took me years to get into said career and become comfortable in it. After that, I met the girl of my dreams and entered into a serious relationship, traveled the world with her, and moved in together. Then we got married. Then we had our son. And now I can't wait to raise him to be my wee pal and give him the best life I can and any siblings he has in future. Each milestone, I've taken time to reflect on it and be sure to internalize my gratefulness and not let life simply pass me by. In between these milestones has been challenges with my job, my wife's health, my own health, and sadly one miscarriage. To me, life isn't about winning, but getting through the tough times with loved ones to come out the other side and be stronger/happier as a result. I've been very blessed, and a lot of people out there have it much worse in life than me, through no fault of their own. Hence why I'm always so grateful. Answer. Moved out of the rural trailer park and into an apartment for college. I haven't lived in a trailer since and never will again. Answer. When I met my partner. Answer. That I'm one of the few people I know that's happily married. Answer. It wasn't one big moment like a promotion or buying a house. It happened on a random Tuesday evening. I was making dinner, listening to some music, and my dog was asleep on the floor nearby. Suddenly, it just hit me. I wasn't anxious. For years, my brain was a constant buzz of what ifs and worries about money, my future, and what people thought of me. But in that moment, there was just silence, just the sound of sizzling garlic and my dog softly snoring. I wasn't worried about tomorrow, and I wasn't regretting yesterday. I was just there, and I was genuinely, peacefully content. That feeling of quiet contentment is a bigger jackpot than any lottery. Answer. When my ex became homeless and possibly died in the streets while I married the person of my dreams and fixed up a house together. Answer. When my abusive dad didn't destroy my self-esteem no matter how much he tried. I realized I won when I wasn't attracted to men who were abusive, just like him. Answer. When I stopped chasing love and started choosing myself. Answer. Me and my best friend accidentally met almost a year ago by chance. We had no mutual friends or anything. We were both looking for something in the game to complete. A mission at the same time in the same server on the same night, and we've been glued together ever since. We live in the same state, and we're hoping to meet in person sometime. Our first best friend anniversary is coming up in October. Question 2. What's something kids today will never understand? Answer. Manual transmissions. Answer. VHS tapes. Answer. The good life without computers or social media. Answer. The American dream was, for about a half a generation, was real. If you were born at just the right time in the United States, you could afford a real house, a car, and a family complete with education and medical care expenses on a single income. That kind of wealth is what has been siphoned up by people with yachts and offshore accounts and private jets. Answer. Being spanked when you're out of line. Answer. Splicing and taping reel to edit. The miracle of the IBM Selectric typewriter. It could white out with one key. The smell of the mimeograph machine. Yellow or white pages phone books. The centerpiece to snap into 45s. Letters instead of numbers for your phone number. Party lines. Gazing at album art. Answer. What it's like not having a phone. Answer. Playing kick the can on the city street as a legitimate game. Answer. Memorizing important phone numbers like the landline or having to use a phone book. Answer. Waiting to watch your favorite TV show until it aired at a specific time. No streaming, no binge watching, just a set schedule. Answer. When you had found yourself in a fight with a bully, the both of you had to be face to face. You couldn't hide behind a computer. There were a lot of witnesses, including the teachers. Growing up, Teachers rarely bothered with the zero tolerance policy and punished you threw the first punch. If it was a dance-off, teachers couldn't do much since it was a show on who was a better dancer, as they could easier beat the daylights out of you. Answer, street football and driveway basketball. No blood, no foul. Answer, the littlest hobo. Answer, a phone on the wall being the only phone in the house. Going outside till the streetlights came on, writing cursive. Having to get parents cigarettes at the store. Answer, we used to just go outside. With no phones, no GPS, just vibes and maybe a bike. Answer, their first apartment for $175 a month. Disappointed face. Answer, spending your day at the mall just because. And I know you can do that now, but the mall when I was growing up was so much better. I was a mall rat. Answer, waiting around for your favorite show on TV or favorite song on the radio, knowing if you missed it too fucking bad, you had to wait till next time. Answer, holding face-to-face conversations. More to the point, no kids born today will ever have the chance of knowing the world without a fairly large radioactive contamination. Archaeology can easily separate pre-Chernobyl and post-Chernobyl objects because of the massive increase in contamination that occurred then. Poor standards of safety protocols have caused many disastrous outcomes either locally or globally. Look at the Bhopal incident. A whole population was devastated due to the bad practices that were used in that factory. It would be wonderful if our kids never had to experience those kinds of disasters in their lives. Answer, being free. Like when you leave the house, there's not a tracking device on you and not cameras everywhere. Answer, trying to call someone and getting a busy tone. Waiting for the internet to dial up or waiting for the page to load. Rewinding a VHS tape. I was talking to my kids about this one and how exciting it was when DVDs came out. Another one I recently told my kids about is getting lost and having to stop and ask someone for directions. Question 3. What's an underrated behavior that actually reveals high intelligence? Answer, curiosity. I've known a lot of undeniably smart people who didn't fit the answers that always come up on this website. Some are arrogant. Some have no social skills. Some don't like being wrong or changing their mind. The one common factor, though, is that they're curious about the world around them and tend to be quite passionate about some topic/interest. Answer, simplifying something so that you can communicate it, rather than complicating it to sound clever. Answer, knowing when not to talk. Answer, readily admitting when you're wrong or when you don't know something, and actively learning from people who do know about it. Answer, one of the most underrated signs of high intelligence is the ability to change your mind when presented with better evidence. It doesn't get talked about enough because it's not flashy or loud, but it takes real intellectual humility and emotional maturity to admit you were wrong or to let go of a long-held belief. Most people double down when challenged, even if the facts are against them, because ego gets in the way. Smart people, really smart people, can go, you know what? That's a good point, and actually adjust their thinking. It's a quiet kind of intelligence, but it says a lot. Same goes for things like asking good questions, being comfortable saying, I don't know, or listening more than they speak. Those subtle behaviors often say more about someone's mind than how many facts they can rattle off. Answer, asking questions to learn more, even when you don't particularly care about the topic. This can be a sign of emotional intelligence and well-practiced social skills, too. Answer, being able to update their opinion or belief when new information is presented. Answer, wit and humor. I am not a funny person, I'm more academic. But I think people that are funny are so intellectual. It's the only time I feel like the dumbest person in the room when people are making jokes or making people laugh. Answer, being able to spot patterns where others would not. Being able to explain complex topics in an easy-to-understand way, where the explanation doesn't remove accuracy. Answer, knowing you're right, but letting the other person be right to allow them to save face in public. Just let some things go. Answer, using headphones in public when watching videos on the phone. Answer, remembering little details others forget. Answer, self-irony. A person who can laugh at himself is usually very smart. This requires deep self-awareness, distance from one's own ego, and self-confidence. Answer, enjoying puns. Answer, silence. Answer, returning your grocery cart/basket to cart corral. Answer, curious about big ideas, but sensitive enough to notice the surroundings and the people around them. Keeping quiet in a detached way. If the second person is a narcissistic moron who only likes to be listened to. Answer, asking questions. Many people believe that asking questions signals ignorance or inferiority, but in truth, asking, even a dumb question, is far better than making a confident dumb statement. In my experience, clever people ask questions because they want to understand. They're aware of what they don't know and are curious to learn. On the other hand, it's often the less informed who assume they already have the answers. Real intelligence isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing which questions are worth asking. Answer, coming across as antisocial, but really being reserved and fully aware and observant of your surroundings and the true intentions of people by not listening to what they say but analyzing their behavior and mannerisms. Question 4. What's a weird social rule in your country that everyone just accepts? Answer, cashiers having to stand. Answer, bless you for sneezes, but silence for coughs or farts. I wish to be blessed for all emissions. Answer, saying hi, how are you? Good, you. Good, even with strangers. People you barely know, customer service. When neither of you likely care or are being sincere. Answer, the Canadian standoff. After you. No, after you. No, no, I insist. I wouldn't dream of it. Please go first. It can go on like this for some time. Answer, I feel like this is global. But when you hop in an elevator, you just stare at the door and say nothing. Unless you are alone with someone you know. Answer, hustle culture. Working hard long HRS to make the bosses rich. Answer, not mine, but my husband's culture. Everyone in the family is supposed to be congratulated on someone's birthday. I found out when a stream of people I barely knew shook my hand and congratulated me at my FIL's milestone birthday party. It was so confusing, grinning, squinting face, but everyone does it. Answer, tipping in the US. Answer, apologizing for bumping into chairs and other inanimate objects. Also, apologizing when someone else bumps into you. Answer, we call our mates cunts and we call strangers mate. Answer, if you're offered something, a gift, money, anything, you have to say no a few times before accepting it. Answer, when your family comes over, you have to change your clothes cuz someone might find shorts and a spaghetti strap sexual. If my daughter clothes make you uncomfortable, leave cuz I'm no longer comfortable around you. Answer, shoes off at the front door unless otherwise instructed. Answer, when you're out having afternoon drinks with someone, aperitivo, it is common to see among really close friends a little dance of people rushing to the cashier saying, I will pay. No, no, I will pay. Then someone agrees that they will return the favor next time. Of course, if it's a larger group, people either pay for themselves or the bill is split equally. When you're eating somewhere with friends and you're full, it is more common to announce it and offer if someone wants to finish your food rather than waste it without saying anything. You never wish someone happy birthday before the actual birthday. It's considered bad luck. At birthday parties, the birthday person is expected to pay for everyone. Yes, they can be quite expensive. Answer, the head nod as one guy walks past another guy. You're never going to see them again. You likely would not start a conversation, but you still do a brief, I acknowledge your existence nod. Answer, arrive after the agreed upon time when you're going to someone's house, but before the agreed upon time when you're meeting elsewhere. Answer, elders are always right and always have your best interests at heart, and hence, they must always be respected and loved and revered. Answer, tipping and sales tax omitted from menu prices in Canada, Ontario. Go to a restaurant and look at the prices on the menu. Then in your head you must add 13% for tax and say 17% for tip. Thus the actual price is 30% higher than what is stated on the menu. Answer, billionaires can break the law and no one ever stops them. Answer, living on your own from 18. I'm 23, kicking it with my parents probably for a couple years to come, and it's going to set me ahead years financially. Answer, if you are the youngest member in the house, a visiting aunt or grandma, sometimes uncle or grandpa too, will give you something valuable, mostly money. But you must say no, at least thrice, and try to give it back. After 3 to 4 back and forth attempts, you can take it, but don't be too eager, otherwise you'll be labeled greedy. If you take it immediately when offered first, they will gossip about you saying young people these days have no manners. Question 5. What is a green flag you instantly notice in someone? Answer, people who go out of their way to make you feel welcome in an unfamiliar setting. My best friend of 15 years comes to mind. Answer, being curious about things, still interested in learning about history or a new hobby, etc. Answer, they do the right thing even when no one is watching. Answer, immediately. They ask me questions and are a good listener, not just waiting for their turn to talk. Answer, they're kind to people who can't help them, waiters, cashiers, animals, etc. Answer, accountability. Answer, they think before they speak. Answer, empathy. Answer, kindness. Answer, how they speak/treat strangers, especially elderly. Answer, being easy to talk to, especially as someone with social anxiety. It's super nice to talk to people who show a genuine interest in having a conversation beyond small talk. Answer, when they help other people in trouble without hesitation. For example, when someone is about to fall down or about to drop something off, or whatever. My husband does this all the time, and I fall deeper in love each time I see it. Answer, giving someone their full attention when talking to them with genuine interest. Answer, hobbies and passion. Answer, other people have mentioned being nice to animals, but I think especially if they're nice to ones that aren't cute, like spiders/other kinds of bugs or reptiles. That's a green flag. Not talking about if they're dangerous BTW, I mean if they just look off-putting. Answer, they have empathy for others. Answer, kindness to animals, especially someone who doesn't think twice to pull over to grab a stray animal on the road. Answer, whimsy and or childlike wonder. Answer, when they make funny Reddit comments. Answer, they don't gossip. Answer, how they speak to and treat people experiencing homelessness. Answer, you pick up clean litter as you walk by it, then you're okay in my book. Answer, honesty, they don't have a need to lie, fake, or act differently in front of people. They just present themselves as who they are. Answer, someone who can laugh at themselves. Answer, gentleness even in face of conflict, disagreement. Answer, help you save face if you do or say something awkward if you're with unfamiliar company. Answer, super simple, but anyone that can apologize for a misunderstanding. Just sorry, I misunderstood. Answer, they aren't mean when you are unfamiliar with something they are familiar with. Answer, when I ride a bus or train, I see someone who gives up his or her seat for an elderly person or pregnant woman when there are no more seats available. Answer, doing nice things just to be nice, not in order to gain something. Answer, when one member of the group talks over a quieter member before they have finished, they tell the loud talker to shut their fat mouth, so the quiet person can talk freely until they have said what they wanted to say. Answer, if they are kind to children and old people. Answer, when they have the perfect balance between not getting their feathers easily ruffled and not being a pushover. Answer, they ask questions about you. They actively listen and not just waiting for you to stop talking so they can interject their me's and I's. Answer, good sense of humor. Answer, when they smile and say thank you to people in the service industry. Being kind to stray animals. Letting someone finish their sentence and apologizing for interrupting. Being sweet to kids. Answer, when someone randomly gave me a bottle of water for my dog on a hot day on your way home was really nice. Answer, someone who owns their mistakes without excuses. Question 6. Reddit. What's a scam you fell for that still blows your mind today? Answer, buying something to get a job. Desperation can lead to poor decision-making skills. Answer, I joined an MLM in 2016. Thought I was going to earn that Mercedes and help my husband retire early. What a joke that was. Ended up spending way more on products. So I could have a testimony to share woman face-palming medium light skin tone than I ever made with my measly commission. I'm embarrassed to admit I was one of those, hey girl, haven't seen you since high school. Can I help you change your life? Woman face palming medium light skin tone, woman face palming medium light skin tone, woman face palming medium light skin tone. Answer, I paid $300 in 1985 to get assistance renting my first apartment. They provided no assistance at all, just gave me a photocopy of a newspaper clipping with apartment to let ads. I found one on my own 2 weeks later. Rent was $495 per month, and it really hurt not having that $300. Answer, there was a company advertising that they would help people wipe out predatory student loans. Long story short, I blew $800 on a company that got shut down by the government for fraudulent practices and was denied a refund. Answer, the $5 I gave a guy on the Rock Creek Bridge in Georgetown was not actually collecting for a soccer team to get new uniforms. Answer, in my early 20s I needed a job bad. I got hired for a company that was just a multi-level marketing scam. You did get paid every week, but if you failed to reach a certain point of sales, you fell into the hole, which meant you owed them money lol. Answer, a timeshare with Wyndham, fucking hell. Answer, I clicked one of those shady pay now links and my entire account got drained. Was able to take swift action and the bank reversed it since. I didn't have instant transfers on but were the most stressful 5 minutes of my life since. I was in the middle of buying my current apartment. I was tired, they got me at the right moment, never again. Answer, being sued because my IP torrented copyrighted adult content. The lawyer never sued anyone. He threatened people 300 at a time. And it was extremely easy to get out of, but most people got scared and paid him to leave them alone. He eventually had his license revoked. Answer, signed up the company I was working for to be on a pay-to-advertise list. One of my first real jobs was working as an assistant in an office. One of my daily tasks was to handle the mail as it came in. Most of it was invoices from vendors and things of the sort. One piece of mail was a registration page to get the company listed in the yellow pages. Thinking this was the normal yellow pages, I saw this as a good thing and immediately filled out the paperwork to register the company before putting the paperwork into an envelope and back into the mailbox. A few weeks later, a bill for something like $500 would arrive by mail. I didn't recognize the company, but passed it on to the controller as I normally would. Moments later, the controller is asking me a slew of questions and eventually tells me about these scam companies. It was my first time working in an office, so I had no idea. Thankfully, I was not a signer for the company in any capacity. So after a few phone calls between the scam company and controller, the scam company would send 1-2 more letters before going silent. It wasn't the official-looking reminders to buy OSHA signage or copies of the business certificate that got me, but rather the more obvious yellow pages scam. Answer, this is a long one. TLDR, I was scammed by a friend into a pyramid scheme that was framed so perfectly. I fell for it despite usually being able to point them out. So a friend of mine who I trusted a lot called me up one day to ask if I had time to come grab a coffee. Of course, I always have time to have coffee with this friend. It was kind of our thing. What was weird about this time is that he brought a binder, a notebook, and some books to give me. It felt like a job interview. He told me about this mentorship he had taken on, and knowing that I have the mindset of an entrepreneur, he figured I'd be interested in hearing him out and seeing if it was something I'd be interested in doing with him. He said it was a small business ownership mentorship. Okay, cool. I'm interested, let's hear it. He told me that it's a store very similar to Alibaba where you work with a merchant to build your storefront. The mentorship walks you through how to get your products on either online shelves or physical ones by starting off renting space in a larger store. Most people tended to choose the online storefront, though, and only bring in sample products at first, because it was cheaper to do it that way in the beginning until I had the funds to go further. By golly, my good friend, I'm in. This is exactly what I'm wanting in life, and thank you so much for the opportunity. He goes on to explain that the startup is $250 for the sample package that'll include 50 items of each basic startup item to be able to pass out to others. Then it was $500 for the mentorship. All right, it's pricey, but sounds worth it, right? Huh, Amway. It was Amway. Answer, A family in a car that ran out of gas on the side of the road. I offered to drive the dad to the gas station, but he declined. Didn't want to leave the family alone. Stupid me didn't think further and didn't get suspicious. He talked me out of 25 bucks. He got my coworker, too, who met him at the same spot 1 hour later. Edit. He even gave me a business card to contact him to get my money back. Of course, he had stolen them at a hardware store. Answer. Got a text from USPS that a package was held up and I needed to put in my credit card number. It made 0 sense and was obviously a scam. But for whatever reason, I pulled my card and promptly typed in the number. I don't know what was wrong with me that day to believe that the postal service would need my credit card info for any reason. Maybe I was already having a bad day and just wasn't thinking. But I still can't believe that I did something so stupid. Especially since it's not like it's the first scam text or call I've gotten. I'm almost always vigilant about what stuff. I guess it just takes one moment of distraction to fall for an obvious scam. Got a text from my bank not long after about suspicious charges, and I canceled that card immediately. So at least no real harm was done. But boy, do I still cringe about it. Answer. Not me, but one of the greatest things I saw happen to someone. My uncle and I were walking along Fisherman's Wharf, and a guy calls out, "Hey big boss man, you want those shoes shined? Completely free. You can tip if you want, but I got you." My uncle decides why not. Guy is shining his shoes and asks if he wants to hear a story. Uncle says sure. The man proceeds to give a relatively funny story about whatever. When he was done, my uncle gave him 5. The guy sigh. Nah, it's 20 bucks man, WTF. My uncle said, "You said the shine was free." The guy says, "Yeah, but stories are $20. I asked and you said yes." On the sign in small as fuck writing said, "Additional stories for $20. We couldn't stop laughing. Gave him 100 and left. Answer. I sold Cutco the summer after high school graduation. Answer. In a mall parking lot as a teenager. A guy comes up to us, pissed, "Hey, I've got these speakers in the back of my van. Need to offload them quick, wanna buy them." They were large subwoofer/speaker combos, looked really expensive. About 4 foot tall, carpeted, looked badass. He was acting shady and like they were stolen. It made you think that for $350, it was a crazy good deal. My friends and I ran to the ATM and got the cash and bought them. Got home, took a closer look. They were knockoffs, and looking online, they are being sold for $50. Answer. Fat burners. My young teenage, eating disordered mind was very easily caught by ads claiming to burn fat. I didn't have fat that needed to be burned. Thankfully, I didn't take anything for very long, and they didn't seem to have any adverse effects. But Lord knows what could have been in those tablets. I later read news articles about girls dying from pills with similar claims. ETA. I think this counts as a scam, but maybe not. Answer. I bought an expensive set of Cutco knives after I purchased my first house. My sister made fun of me for falling for an MLM. She sold Herbalife. At least I still use my Cutco knives on a daily basis. Answer. Bought a hot gold necklace when I was 16 for cheap. Turned my neck green. Answer. I fell for a rental scheme once. $1,400 of my and my partner's money. Question 6. U/Leamster 1K. Question 6. What are some of the hardest pills to swallow in life? Answer. You think you're talented. Then you show up for the audition, and everyone else is talented. Answer. Sometimes you are the problem in the situation. That yes, you are allowed to have your emotions, but it's how you express those emotions that become a problem. You have to be fluent in silence sometimes to know what's going on. Answer. Not everyone you love will love you back. And it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's just the way feelings work. Love does not oblige. Answer. You may do everything right and still lose. There's no guarantee in anything. Answer. How much in life is truly outside our control? Answer. You absolutely can lose everything you have, no matter how stable, and be left in a position where there's absolutely no way you can work your way back up to where you were. Answer. You may not be what's best for the person that's best for you. Answer. Sometimes they just don't want you. Answer. Some people will never apologize. Not because they're right, but because their ego is louder than their guilt. Let that sink in before you keep waiting. Answer. Most people have said the ones that I would have said, so here's another one. There's dignity in silence, and not everyone needs to know your side of the story. If the people that matter to you know, then that's all that matters at the end of the day. Answer. Bad things happen to good people. Bad people get good things. There is no fairness, no justice, and no happy endings for most of us. Answer. Loyalty is a very rare trait to find in others. Answer. You may never find love, find a good job, get where you wanted to get. Maybe the ending is not happy. And that is life. It happens a lot. Answer. You might be the juiciest peach on the tree, but some people just simply don't like peaches. And there's nothing you can do about it. Peach. Answer. Often, the lesser of two evils is a valid choice that adults have to make. Answer. Some of your friends aren't really your friends, but you won't know until you're vulnerable. Answer. You can't make someone do anything. You can't make someone take accountability. You can't make someone act the way they should act. You can only lead a horse to water, and it's not even your responsibility to do that. Answer. Aging happens to everyone and looks fade, ouch. Answer. That in all but a few situations, money wins out. Answer. That unfortunately, I will outlive my pets. I write this while sitting beside my 20 years old childhood cat in her final hours of life. I will love her forever. Edit. My baby girl was so tired she passed during the sedation. Shot instead of the actual shot pleading face. Glad my Buki was able to cross. High as a MF kite white heart, 3:55 p.m. Long live Miss Kitty. Thank you so much for all the support. Answer. Sometimes you are the problem. Answer. That the shitheads often win. Answer. No matter how good you are to someone in a relationship, sometimes you have to accept that person is not right for you. New doors will open after one is closed, and you will discover there are much better things waiting for you in life. It is very hard for people to sometimes change for their own good. They choose to be a certain way, and you have to accept it and move on. Answer. For me, calcium tab, it's so huge. Answer. Many good people become depressed, drug addicts, or alcoholics cuz the world is just too dark and too much pain for some of us to accept. Answer. No one is coming to save you. If you want something in life, you have to go get it. Answer. You can't win against people with no moral values. Answer. Wondering if/how things would be different if you met different PPL at different times in your life.